people, we love to make things. To do it yourself. To DIY. In the attic, the basement, the backyard, and in front of a camera. And those camera DIYers, they've got something you'll like. From the TV studio to the studio apartment, they're making something up just for you. It's That DIY Show. Today,
it's picture perfect.
Alex Hayter invites us up for a picture-perfect project. And the Hive Mind has an idea to save for a rainy day.
This old paint can into a fire-breathing Ford. Now for the messy part. Can't wait to roast a hot dog in here later.
Great question.
A solo upcycling experiment, pro tips with viewer's choice, and feeling the rhythm with a tree-loving drum maker.
Even people who aren't drummers appreciate the drums, the solid wood snare drums, for their aesthetic beauty. The hand-carved drums, I don't try to make them round. I try to retain the shape of the tree in as much as possible. To see a piece of nature used to make music, people find that fascinating. It resonates with them.
The craft that makes the music, a homemade metal forge, and more. But first, we're off to the loft on That DIY Show.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I'm Alex Hayter. I've got something really special for you today. Now when I say special, I don't just mean beautiful, because obviously it's going to be beautiful. I'm talking next level special. I'm going to show you how to make some nature-inspired shelving. Perfect for the bathroom, bedroom, living room, really anywhere that deserves an eye-catching wall piece. Let's get to it. I've got lots of driftwood that I collected last time I was at the beach. Now the trick for me is getting the driftwood before my dog gets to it so it doesn't become his favorite chew toy. But if you can't make it to a beach, no problem. Lots of people sell this stuff because it is so unique and it's truly its own. Take your time and pick the best piece of driftwood. I love this piece here just because of the coloring. It's white, but it has that natural wood that's kind of coming through as well. The only problem is it's not very even. You can see it's thick on one end and very thin on the other. So I love these three pieces, especially this. It's kind of got an ombre look. And these two pieces, they're super cool, but they're just too little. These ones, they are so funky. I love them, but really not realistic for a shelf. It actually would be cool to put on a shelf. It could be an accent piece. You never know. We could use it later. This guy right here, he is the winner. Very symmetrical. It already kind of looks like a shelf, but it still has that driftwood appeal that we're going for. It's got holes in it. It's kind of rugged looking, and I also love the natural color of it. So this is the one. It's perfect for the project. Lots of upcycling going on here. Not only of the driftwood, I found this old piece of scrap juniper in my shed. So it does have some holes in it, but nothing we can't fill, not a big deal. We're going to chop the driftwood in half. So measure this. It's roughly 46 inches, so we'll cut them in half. About 23 inches that we'll have for either shelf. We're gonna have to clean up the edges here a little bit. The juniper, it's about 33.5 inches, so we can make the shelf about 12 inches on either side. So I'll cut this in half, and what we'll end up with is 2 vertical pieces of juniper, and then we'll have the driftwood on the top and another piece on the bottom. Perfect shelf. Let's get cutting. Very pleased with my cuts. These are the holes that I need to fill in the juniper. I have my wood glue, my bowl of sawdust, and some popsicle sticks. So what I'm gonna do to make the paste, I'll just mix the glue in with the sawdust, give it a couple stirs so it creates a paste. Going for smooth peanut butter here, not crunchy. It's not gonna make it look beautiful, but hey, it's gonna make it look a lot better, and it'll take a coat of paint. I should have used a butter knife for my peanut butter. Holes are vanishing, which is what we're going for. Don't tell anyone, but this is actually pine sawdust, not juniper, but it's working. so whatever. The holes look good, so it's a little rough, so I'll have to hit it with a sander very quickly, but other than that, we're almost ready to paint. Let's sand it down nice and smooth. All right, smooth as it's gonna get. I know it looks a little strange right now, but don't worry, we're gonna put on a coat of paint. Love this color. I went with more of a light blue. It's a very beachy color, if you ask me. That's why I chose it. I want to go with a beachy theme to carry on with the driftwood. Looks great. What do you think? I'm excited to get this all together. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm going to start with the driftwood and the jigsaw. We'll be cutting out some squares. The reason you drill the holes is so you can see the jigsaw fits right in, so I can get the jigsaw going, and it'll make the cut a lot easier. The true test. Nailed it. Then I got my trusty drill. I'm going to be making some holes in my juniper. We're going to measure in 2 1/4. Then we're gonna make some cuts with this. We just have to make some short pieces of dowel. Let's assemble this thing. This flat surface is going to be the top of the shelves, and the juniper is just gonna slide through the squares. Really easy. This is gonna be a quick assembly. This is the top of the shelf, and the dowel is going to go underneath, so you don't see it at the top. Just gonna push that down. Stays nice and flat, and then on the bottom part, the dowels are going parallel to the shelf. Stick them right through, easy peasy. You can see the driftwood just sits right on top of the dowels. And we've got ourselves a beautiful shelf. This turned out amazing. I love it. I'm so glad I went with this light blue color rather than the white. I think it contrasts perfectly with the light driftwood that we have. I can see some really cool seashells that you could put on here that you've collected. Maybe a couple pictures you could throw in there. It really is a beautiful shelf made of upcycled materials. It's picture perfect.
We've got hands and we've got plans. What more do you need? It's That DIY Show. From bright ideas all the way to dark workshops. It's That DIY Show. Ready transmission.
We're gonna make a red hot metal melting forge. Metal! my friends. Forge, the quest for fire. You can't just go roasting a steel rod over a campfire. It's not hot enough. You need a super special, super hot fire in a contained space. And I'm gonna show you how to build one.
With some plaster of Paris and a propane torch, we're gonna turn this old paint can into a fire-breathing forge.
And then we're gonna fire it up! You're gonna need a whole lot of stuff to get this project done. A measuring cup, torch, cool sunglasses, whole bunch of pliers, tapered bit, some gloves, a drill, oh, and a bucket, and some nuts and bolts and washers. For our ingredients, we have sand to mix in with some plaster of Paris. So let's build. Okay, so we have a paint can here and some bolts, which we are going to use for the legs to hold our forge up. Time to drill some holes. Now I'm going to mark out where I'm going to put the legs. So I'm marking 2 inches in from the middle and 1.5 inches up from the bottom, front and back. Note to self, tighten the bit in all the way. I'm gonna take off these gloves. I'm going to put this nut onto this bolt here, followed by a washer. Followed on the inside by another washer, and followed by another bolt. To make this project harder, it's fun to make up a little rhyme. Bolt, nut, washer, hole, washer, nut, bolt. Bolt, nut, washer, hole, washer, butt. You're gonna wanna put about 35 pounds of torque on these nuts here to tighten them up. You'll know exactly how that feels in your body. I certainly do. What's better, the legs or my rhymes? Nut, washer, bolt, nut, washer. Yeah! Check this thing out. Check this thing out. Bolt, nut, washer, hole, washer, nut, washer, bolt, nut, washer, bolt, nut, bolt, nut, washer, bolt, nut, washer, hole, washer, nut, bolt. Check this thing out. Coming up next on Forge. What's a forge without a fire source? We're gonna change this guy out and put this guy on so we can taper out our hole. Well, this looks terrifying. Oh, spigots! Oh, I think I drilled it too big. It's perfect. Now for the messy part. We're going to make our plaster. We're gonna need 14 cups of sand, plaster mixture, and that is a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm just mixing up the sand and the plaster to add our water slowly as I go. So it kind of achieves a pancake batter. Yeah, it smells just like pancake mix, just like the ones my mom used to make of sand and plaster. Fill the plaster up to these first nuts in the bottom here. I'm gonna put my water bottle in for the form in the middle, along with my paintbrush, and then we're gonna fill the rest of it up. Pour the water out into this bucket, which should hopefully release the pressure of the form, and I'll be able to take it out. The art of patience is really important. Oh, I think it might be done. Is it just me, or does this little guy look like a pig? It's time. First, I'm gonna turn on this. That looks pretty cool. Can't wait to roast a hot dog in here later. Minion, turn off the lights. cool this thing down. What else can I melt? I have all these very special metals. Vintage bottle caps. I could melt a bunch of cutlery and make new cutlery. I think this project worked really great. Maybe could have used just more melting things. Well, this has been amazing. I have to go and melt down everything I own. Bye.
Everyone can create, but we could all use a little bit of inspiration. It's That DIY Show.
Hey, viewer's choice. I'm really proud of my kitchen knives. I like to keep them sharp as swords, but sometimes you throw them in the drawer with everything else and then the edge is gone. Do you have any ideas of how I can keep my knives in the kitchen but keep them separate from all my other cutlery?
Great question. I love cooking with a good sharp kitchen knife. Oh, so satisfying. Okay, I have a knife holder project that's super good looking and it's gonna keep those sharp blades nice and safe and out of the way. First things first, we need to choose our wood for the project. These knives, they were given to me by my grandmother. It's her favorite filleting knife. They're gonna influence my wood choice. Luckily, I have the perfect piece. This old driftwood I found on the beach. Now it's probably as old as these knives and it's gonna look great once they're on it. So the piece of driftwood is too long. We have to choose just a single section of it to use for our holder. So using these knives as our general layout, we'll pick what part of the board is best. Maybe like the wider section, although it's kind of boring. We could go with the narrower section, but there may not be enough room. Maybe a piece right in the middle. It's kind of wider on one end, narrow on the other. Nice bit of asymmetry. You want a little bit of overhang? I think this is the perfect piece. All I need to do is grab a measuring tape, commit to the section I want, head to the chop saw and cut it out. When I was cutting this in the chop saw, this little piece just flaked off. That's what happens when you're working with material like this. But you know what? I kind of like how it looks, so I'm gonna toss that piece. Also, while I was making the cuts, I could almost smell the old salt water still in this board from its years at sea. It really makes a project like this become more of an experience than just a build. The next step is the most important step of the build, and it's turning this regular old piece of driftwood into a magnetic piece of driftwood. To do that, we're gonna drill holes all through the back of it, and we're gonna glue magnets in, and then the knives will just stick magically to the front of the board. Okay, I just need to get these knives out of the way, and then we can start drilling. Those magnets are already coming in handy. And speaking of magnets, I'm using a 3/4 inch Forstner bit because it's the exact same size as our magnets and it'll make cleaner holes in the back. I'm just gonna throw a piece of tape onto the drill bit to mark the depth I don't want to go past. Clamp the board down, ready to drill. Put 4 magnets in each hole. That'll be 8 magnets for each knife. I'm gonna start in the middle, work my way out to the sides. I need more magnets. I think I know where I can get some. That'll do. Well, I guess I have to wait for this glue to dry. So I could probably cut some more things with that sharp knife. All right, that's the last one. Let's see how it holds up. That's perfect. Now, this thing turned out fantastic. I'm super glad I went with the driftwood. It looks great with the knife handles. It's perfect for any kitchen. This type of project, you don't need all the fancy tools that I have in the shop here. All you need is just a little bit of creativity. So if you're looking for inspiration for a project, track down the Viewer's Choice team on the streets and submit your question. Always happy to help out.
Around the world and right around the corner, DIYers and master crafters have something to show and a story to tell.
I'm Jeff Smith, and I'm an artist that works in wood and rhythm. I make drums, both traditional and hand-carved. I make furniture and functional art. I'm really fascinated with wood tile mosaics. I'm also an educator. I teach high school art and shop. I made my first drum when I was about 21 or 2. I actually got very depressed because I just didn't see how I was going to be able to make a living without throwing away all my artistic ambitions. So the very first thing I actually made was I carved a drum from a log. I was going to the woods a lot at this time in my life, so I got a log that had a little hollow in it. My uncle who hunts, he provided me with a bloody deer hide. Between carving down the log and scraping the hide clean, it was kind of a really meditative process that allowed me to reflect really deeply and never look back. Even people who aren't drummers appreciate the drums, the solid wood snare drums, for their aesthetic beauty. The hand-carved drums, I don't try to make them round. I try to retain the shape of the tree in as much as is possible. To see a piece of nature used to make music, people find that fascinating. It resonates with them. All my work really holds tight to that idea of learning a particular skill set and then exploring the variations. Although I work both visually and sonically, and I'm always trying to see if those two can just finally come together. A certain purpose in my work is to find some unity between those two in a meaningful kind of way. Different forms of expression is a way for me to have variation, yet with each variation comes a set of challenges. Even with music or drumming, if you break it down to the basic 4/4 pattern, well, there's so many permutations of that. That's a technical thing. And to create a feeling, that's something kind of different. This type of work for me has really, just sharpened the parts of my mind that I need to be sharp. It's about developing my own imagination, but yet imagination married to techniques. So the imagination to me is a very practical part of our thinking. It's this kind of intuitive, elusive sort of thought form that can't be just sort of pegged down like logic. The imagination is the one way that you're going to change your life.